हेलो, रोज़ की तरह आज भी मैं एक मूवी का स्टोरी एक्सप्लेनेशन लेके आया हूँ आपके लिए। आई होप आपको ये भी पसंद आएगा जैसे बाकी आपको पसंद आते हैं। तो चलिए देखना शुरू करते हैं हम।
Have you ever seen such a cruel boy like this? While his father wasn't at home, he sold his younger brother to another family. He sold 50,000 yuan. When he sold his first younger brother, he was still a little scared. But for the second, third younger brother, he was getting more and more ruthless. He was ACI. He had a non-aging disease, so his body only remained at 5 years old. Knowing that, everyone in the village thought he was a monster. Seeing this, his mother was very desperate and had to take him to Hong Kong to find his father. Finally, ACI and his mother found his father's house. However, it turned out his father married a rich woman in Hong Kong. Furthermore, he also had a son and a daughter. The mother begged him to let them stay, but he kicked them out of the house. Therefore, ACI was both sad and resentful of his father. He immediately went to his half-brother and said, "Your father is also my father." But his younger brother didn't believe him, and even angrily put dirt in his mouth. ACI and his mother were helpless and could only rely on themselves. Every day, his mother took him to pick up trash to earn a living. They had to live at the bottom of society. Finally, his mother became seriously ill and passed away. After that, ACI was adopted by a good person. However, he knew that sooner or later his secret would be discovered by others. ACI was raised by many families. He even took advantage of the opportunity to sell his adoptive parents' children for money. However, he was eventually taken to research. There, he made a friend who was also the only friend in his life. Xiao Ming was the complete opposite of ACI. Xiao Ming's body grew so fast, but his IQ was just like a child's. Based on Xiao Ming's strong health, ACI successfully escaped from the research institute. 30 years had passed. That day, there was a couple who went to the Welfare Institute to adopt a child. They fell in love with ACI at first sight, because he was so similar to their dead child. Something unexpected happened. This man was Asi's half-brother named Qing. At this time, Qing was a policeman. He had both money and a beautiful wife. Meanwhile, ACI became their son, but he didn't want it. He wanted to make a perfect plan for revenge. That day, he called Qing's colleague. "Hello, Uncle Qing, my dad and I have lost each other. I don't know how to get home." "Don't go anywhere, I'll come find you right now," Uncle Qing said. Meanwhile, in Kowloon, there was a serial murder case. There were 12 holes in the victims, which caused them to bleed to death. And the perpetrator of the crime was this 5-year-old boy. He killed people just because he wanted to blame his adoptive father, who was a policeman. That day, ACI called his father's colleague to make an appointment. After that, he killed his father's colleague and tricked his father to the scene and knocked him unconscious. He even intentionally wanted the police to find out. Indeed, this policeman had some doubts about this, while the killer used an electric drill to kill people. But policeman Qing was only anesthetized. So everyone surrounded Qing and asked him to explain. However, when waking up, Qing lost short-term memory. He didn't remember what happened. To prove his innocence, the next day, Qing started to investigate. He discovered that the two victims' places of death were both in Hayden Bay. And it was a coincidence that this bay was very close to his house. During the time of the murder, he was on leave. When arriving at the scene to investigate, Qing discovered that the weapon was an electric drill in a nearby warehouse. When coming home, Qing was still thinking about the case. Suddenly he discovered that his son's toy had a lot of holes drilled in it. So he hurriedly asked his son who did this. But his son pretended to be innocent and said he did. Hearing that, Qing was extremely bewildered. He immediately ran to the warehouse looking for the toolbox. Indeed, the drill had disappeared. Qing hurriedly checked everywhere in the warehouse. Unexpectedly, he saw 2 holes in the wall drilled with an electric drill. And there was a handprint in blood next to it. He tried to put his hand on it. Unexpectedly, it completely matched. Was he really the killer? Or maybe someone was harming Qing. Even Qing didn't know. Qing decided to go to the morgue to investigate. He looked closely at the holes in the victim's back. It was like a drawing. He started looking for all the clues, from tattoos to all kinds of codes, but it was all wrong. Because of the pressure, Qing couldn't sleep. At this time, he was sitting on the bed and thinking. Suddenly he discovered his son's drawing of a rabbit. He realized something suspicious. These were the holes in the back of the victim. At the same time, another victim was murdered. And there were also holes drilled like a rabbit drawing. The crime scene was also near Qing's house. He felt very strange. One of his colleagues even asked him, "Did you remember something?" But Qing didn't dare to say. However, this made his colleagues suspect him. That night, Qing's colleague came to his house. Actually, he came here to look for clues. At this moment, ACI came out and put a bunch of paintings on the table. The colleague discovered the rabbit picture. He immediately grabbed Assie's hand and asked who drew this picture. ACI innocently said this was drawn by his father. This made Ching's colleague even more suspicious. The next day, he took out the relics of the victims. There was a photo in it. When looking carefully, he realized that the people in the picture were all victims of this case. And only Ching was still alive. After that, he asked Ching to go to the beach. He took out that picture and asked Ching. Ching hoped this colleague could trust him. Just give me a week, I will prove my innocence. However, there was a lot of evidence pointing towards Ching. So it was difficult for his colleague to believe him. Ching wanted to take the photo back. During the struggle, the colleague accidentally fell down the beach. Ching rushed down to save him because he didn't want to harm anyone. But at this time, the colleague pulled out his phone. I will not forgive you. Seeing that, Ching could only scream, I don't do it. But at this moment, he was no longer calm. He gagged his colleague's mouth, which caused him to die. This was the first person Ching personally killed. Just because he wanted to prove that he wasn't the killer, he killed someone. Suddenly at this moment, Ching seemed to have sensed something. The sensitivity of a policeman made him suddenly turn around. Ching saw the killer running away. He immediately chased after him. He chased the killer and went to Assie's school. Seeing the killer holding his son, Ching was extremely scared. So he quickly ran to save his son. The killer took the opportunity to escape. Ching hurriedly hugged his son. This time he was really scared. He hid in the house, closed all the windows, and looked outside. Ching's sister wanted to go out, but Ching threatened her with a knife. His wife also began to panic. She didn't understand what Ching was afraid of. At this time, Ching took the knife and searched around the house. When passing the turn upstairs, he saw a picture of his childhood. And 3 of his friends were murdered. When looking again, Ching noticed that there was another boy behind them. 20 years ago, this boy suddenly appeared and claimed he was his brother. After that, Ching beat him badly. He also didn't expect this boy to look exactly like his adopted son ACI. Ching couldn't believe it, so he went up to ask ACI. ACI just smiled and told all the truth. Actually, I'm not your son, I'm your brother. Because I have a non-aging disease, my body doesn't grow. 30 years ago, my mother and I came to find your family. But we were coldly chased away by your family. Now I'm back for revenge. After listening, Ching didn't believe that ACI alone could do everything. It turned out the real culprit was Xiaoming. Ching's temporary amnesia wasn't coincidental either. Because when ACI gave him cake to eat, ACI put some psychoactive drugs in it. To blame Ching, ACI brutally murdered Ching's childhood friends. Hearing that, Ching almost broke down. He wanted to kill this murderer. Even if go to jail, I have to kill a murderer like you. At this time, ACI hurriedly shouted for his mother to save him. Ching's wife and sister immediately ran over. They thought Ching was crazy. But Ching still thought of all sorts of ways to kill ACI. The next day, he sailed with ACI to the sea with the aim of killing ACI. But ACI wasn't scared at all. At this time, Ching realized that he had been trapped by ACI. Ching remembered that his wife was alone at home. So he immediately jumped into the sea to swim back. When getting home, he didn't see his wife anywhere. Suddenly he saw a clump of black hair falling out of the microwave. Moreover, there was blood stain. Ching was extremely heartbroken. My wife. At this time, Ching completely lost his mind. He took the electric drill out of the house. His eyes were as red as a wild animal. After that, Ching found ACI. He turned on the electric drill and prepared to kill this cruel person. But at this time, Ching's sister called the police. ACI was still continuing his merciless plan. Dad, don't do that. Ching still raised the drill, but he was shot by the police. Finally, Ching didn't die, but was sent to prison. When Ching's sister came to visit him, she just asked, "Are you the killer?" But Ching didn't say anything. Because he knew his sister would definitely investigate after knowing the truth. And she would become Assie's next target. At the end of the movie, Ching's superior discovered his photo. Will Ching be vindicated and ACI punished for the crimes he committed? This is still unknown. However, I believe that the wicked man will definitely be punished.
आई होप आपको ये स्टोरी पसंद आई होगी बाकी स्टोरीज़ की तरह. सो लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल फॉर द न्यू वीडियोज़ एंड थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग. थैंक यू.